Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is going to be a quickish one, hopefully, maybe. I'm going to be comparing all the cobalt violets that I have. Now, cobalt violet is not one of my favourite pigments. The first time I used it, I thought it was weak paint with a horrible gummy texture, but slowly over time I've begun to appreciate it a little bit more. Right, so let's get started with the first one. So first up is Rembrandt Cobalt Violet. This is PV14. So this is the first cobalt violet I ever tried, and to be honest, I absolutely hated it. I kept trying to paint with it straight from the tube, but all I could get was this horrible, weak, gummy mess. Thankfully, I had a few commenters give me some great advice to squeeze it into a pan first and let it dry. And then after that, I had no problems with the paint at all. I mean, it re-wet pretty nicely and painted out beautifully. Yeah, so this one looks great to me. It is quite pinkish. Yeah, the granulation looks pretty nice. Yeah, I think it's a very nice paint. Right, next we have Winsor Newton Professional Cobalt Violet. Again, PV14. Now, I recently swatched this one out in my Winsor Newton video a few weeks back, and I said it's pretty much the same as the Rembrandt version. And I had one commenter who disagreed with that. They thought that the Winsor Newton version was much more pigmented and that the Rembrandt version was, quite a bit more pinkish. And after painting them out side by side here, I'm thinking that that commenter was absolutely right. The Winsor Newton does seem a lot stronger. I also prefer the granulation of the Winsor Newton. Yeah, it kind of seems like more defined to me. The Rembrandt looks a bit kind of creamy, milky, if that makes sense. Next we have Schmincke Horadam Cobalt Violet Hue. This one's PV62. Now, this one is a different pigment. It's not the real cobalt violet, which is PV14, and it's clearly a very different color. But it says cobalt violet on the tube, so that's why I included it here. Yeah, it kind of looks like almost an ultramarine violet to me. I guess it's a bit redder. I suppose it's like a cobalt violet deep, maybe. I know some other brands do make a cobalt violet deep. I've not tried any of them though. Yeah, it's a very nice granulating violet, and just like every Schmincke paint I've ever tried, it's lovely to paint with, very smooth and flows beautifully on the paper. Okay, and now onto the last of my cobalt violets. It's Da Vinci Cobalt Violet, and it's another PV14. And this one kind of feels a bit different. It's like, I think it's just a bit harder to re-wet from the pan, so yeah, it kind of has a different texture when I paint it out. Wow, it's really pink. Yeah, it's nice, but I think it falls behind the Rembrandt and Winsor Newton a bit. Again, like the Rembrandt, it kind of feels it's a bit milky, Yeah, even more so than the Rembrandt, actually. I mean, the granulation looks okay, but not as good as the first two, in my opinion. Okay, now they're all painted out, and here they are in daylight when completely dry. So obviously the Schmincke is the odd one out, and probably shouldn't have been included in the comparison. But what I will say about it is that it is a really beautiful paint. Re-wets very easily from the pan, has some nice granulation going on. Yeah, I definitely recommend it if it's the kind of violet you like. Now comparing the three PV14s. I'd probably say my least favourite is the Da Vinci. Yeah, it is very pink. It's more opaque than the other two, and the granulation's not as nice in my opinion. It's not that it's a bad paint by any means, it's just I don't think it's as nice as the other two. It is probably a lot cheaper though, of course. Now comparing the Winsor Newton and the Rembrandt, I'd say they're both very good paints, though to me, I'd say the Winsor Newton is just that little bit nicer. Yeah, I think the Winsor Newton is more, I guess, more pigmented or more saturated, and the granulation looks better to my eye at least. I guess it depends on what you prefer, really. The Rembrandt is more pink, I'd say. I think I described it earlier as having like a milkiness to it. Whereas the Winsor Newton is much sharper and more defined. In terms of value, here in Thailand, the Rembrandt is much, much cheaper. Maybe as much as half the price of the Winsor Newton. So I'd expect the Winsor Newton paint to be better. For me though, even though I do prefer the Winsor Newton, Cobalt Violet isn't a colour that I see myself using all that much, so I'd probably just go for the cheaper option and stick with the Rembrandt if I ever needed it. Yeah, it does the job for me just fine. So what about you? Are you a fan of Cobalt Violet? And what do you use it for? I think I mainly use it in the sky when I'm painting landscapes. I find it beautiful for painting like early morning skies. I also quite like to mix some delicate greys with it. Of course, it has its uses when painting florals too. I imagine this granulating delicate pink violet is just perfect for that. Okay, so there you go. That's the end of the Cobalt Violet comparison. I'd be very interested to hear your views about these four, and I'll be particularly interested to hear what brand of Cobalt Violet is your favourite. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye-bye.